Hi guys. So I really want to talk about Cleric in Baldur's Gate 3 and specifically what you can do with Shadowheart. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I was deep into Act 2 before I realized that you can actually take your companions over to Withers and change their class. Now, I'm not suggesting that you change the class exactly with Shadowheart, but I do think that Trickster Cleric is quite a waste. I'm not a big fan. I think that you're going to be doing all of your pickpocketing or sleight of picking with your main character. For me, that is a Bladesong wizard based on Kurito from Sword Art Online. He's grown up now, and somehow he finds himself in Faerun. However, for Cleric, once I realized that I could change the class, and the nice thing about changing the class is that you can also fix her stats. You look over on the right there, they're wasted. A cleric should be strength, constitution, and wisdom. And for me, just as I did tabletop when I was playing D&D 5th edition, which Baldur's Gate is based on, I would always have 3 dump stats of 8, and then I would try to get a 17, a 16, and a 15. That way, when you do your ability increase later on, maybe at level 4 or level 8, you can then fix the 2 that are odd number because you don't get the stat increase unless it's an even number. So your 3 8s are going to give you a -1 on those 3 rolls, and then you can try and build the 3 stats that matter most. Like I said, Cleric will be strength, constitution, and wisdom. Now, for me, the best domain that you can pick for Cleric is actually going to be the final choice, and I think that's the War Domain. I like War Domain because I have a rather controversial opinion of how a cleric should be. No one ever agreed with me at tabletop, but when the cleric is a companion rather than your played character, I think this makes a lot of sense. For me, a cleric should only ever be using spell slots for healing. I don't think that there is any spell that they get that is worth wasting the opportunity to heal instead. Now, we used to make mistakes when we were playing tabletop because we thought when a character was downed, they actually went into minus hit points, and then if you had minus your total, then that was death. We didn't understand, and that caused problems with healing. But the way it really works, the way it works in 5e and the way it works in Baldur's Gate, is that when you're downed, you're on 0 hit points. So a healing of 1 hit point is the difference between you being downed and you getting up. So something like a level 3 slot doing a mass healing could theoretically get all 3 downed companions or player character, if that's the case, all 3 up in 1 spell. Whereas you might like Spirit Guardians, that was always a favorite of people at the table. It's a really good spell, but the difference between life and death is healing. You're going to be limited. You're probably taking a cleric with you. If you've got Paladin, that's great, but the cleric is the king of healing. So for me, you want to go War Domain, and the reason that you want to do that is because what you're going to want to do with the cleric is to make him, or in this case her, the absolute best companion without using slots. Like I said, the healing is going to use all the slots, and if you can do it out of combat, that's best. I think it's Prayer of Healing, isn't it? That will heal everybody, and you can do that out of combat. But you've also, in Baldur's Gate 3, got 2 short rests that you can do, and I was very bad for a long time at making the most of my short rests. Short rests are excellent. People are going to use their hit dice. I don't even know if that's even calculated or recorded in Baldur's Gate 3. Tabletop, you would have a certain number of hit dice. You could roll them, and that would get you your hit points back as best as possible. But the way it always seems to work with me with short rests is that you're going to get all characters back to full healing. So you've got 2 almost full heals through your short rests, and then for anything else, you've got your cleric, Prayer of Healing, done out of combat. But you're probably going to need some in-combat healing. So for me, again, save all of your cleric slots for healing. So when you're going to pick your spells, you're going to find that all of the healing spells are the blue spells. As you go through, you're going to be limited on the number you can take, so you may as well just take something useful. I could understand an argument for Bless being a decent spell. If you're going War Domain, then your cleric is going to have heavy armor proficiency, so you're probably going to be able to get your cleric maybe to the highest AC in the party, which is really good because if they're not getting hit, then they can maintain concentration. So totally understand the argument for Bless. Level 1 Bless is going to bless 3 characters, so maybe she can actually bless the other 3 members of the party. That's going to make it so that they're more likely to land their blows and they're also more likely to survive their saving throws. But that is going to use up a spell slot. The level 1 spell slots aren't as useful later on. But again, the great thing about a cleric is that you've got both a action heal and a bonus action. So that's you've got a cure and a healing that you can do in one round. Now, that wasn't allowed at tabletop because when you play tabletop, you're only actually allowed to use one spell slot. You're only allowed to cast once. I don't even think that you're allowed to use a cantrip if you've already used a spell. So Baldur's Gate 3 is much kinder, it's nicer, and they've leaned into what's fun. There's a lot of things that aren't fun in tabletop, and for me, I think that they're best getting rid of. However, the game is very well balanced, so it's hard to get rid of something that helps everybody, and sometimes you'll help somebody and not the others, and that can cause problems. So often tabletop, you really need to stick to the rules, but Baldur's Gate 3, the rules are the rules. You've got mods, you can use mods. I think that some of the mods are pretty useful. I don't like having to worry about going over my weight allowance. So there's a couple of mods that allow you to reduce consumables to 0, anything you're carrying. I think that's worth doing. But as you can see here, for me, what I'm doing is I'm trying to take as many blue spells. They're healing, there's going to be restoration, there's going to be aid, there's going to be mass healing, mass curing, and they are all that you really want to be using with the cleric. And if that's all you take, then that's all you're going to be able to do. Now, the War Cleric, and this is the reason that I like that subclass the best for Cleric, is that the War Cleric will get a certain number of additional attacks. For me, the best classes that you can take in Baldur's Gate 3 will get multi-attack. Melee classes will get that around about level 5 or 6. And my main character, which is actually a wizard, I play the Bladesong Wizard, as I said, Bladesong Wizard will actually get a second attack, I think again at level 5 or 6. They will be proficient in light armor, and when you combine that with the mobile feat taking up 4 and level 5, you get 3rd level spell of haste. It's a little bit ridiculous. You're going to be doing 2 booming blade attacks, you're going to be 2 additional attacks, and you've even got an offhand attack if you're dual wielding, which I would recommend. So Bladesong I would recommend as your main character. So therefore, you're going to be looking at having Shadowheart is probably going to be your cleric. Have tried changing through Withers one of the guys into a cleric for a different playthrough. What I've done with Kirito is that I've given him a harem setup of the 3 women. So he's got Shadowheart, Karlach, and Lae'zel. And then I've created a female main. Again, I've got Bladesong because I think it's just good. I've gone for the tactical level for this playthrough. And then the 3 guys, but the 3 guys I have used Withers to make the changes. But anyway, back to Cleric. As you can see, I'm taking all of the blue spells. If I need to fill it out, then I'm going to take something that's going to complement them. But I'm really not interested in that. Everything is going to... You've got Revivify in there as well. That's a blue spell, so that's really worth having. But spell slots for a Cleric should just be for some form of healing or bringing someone back from the dead. Other than that, you want to be making the most of what you can do with cantrips and attacks. So again, the War Domain Cleric will get a certain number of second attacks, tend not to run out. I think they might come back from short rest. I'm not sure of that. I find it hard to see exactly what's coming back from short rest and long rests, but the extra attack is really useful. I use that all the time. You've got some other channel divinities that you can use, but they can be used differently, and they can even be used to help other people attack, so they're more likely to land it. Now, one thing I've done here, we're already up to level 8, but what I did at level 4 instead of doing the ability improvement then, is that I took Alert. Now, Alert will give a +5 to your initiative, which means that she's more likely to start earlier in the combat round. I did that because I was playing around with Bless, which again, like I said, can be useful. By a later level, you can maybe use your level 1 slots for that. But I think that it's probably worth having her early in the combat round anyway. You can get her into a good position. If you've gone straight into another combat and haven't had a chance to do a short rest, maybe you've been in a place where you can't do that, then maybe letting her start the round early by healing everybody. Again, by her starting early, if you were to use the bless idea, then if she's first in the round, then everybody is close by and within range. Whereas if she goes later in the round, then some of the characters might be out of range. And again, because I've said to ditch dex, then initiative is going to be particularly low. And I think it's much better to do a level 4 alert rather than bothering with having a dex build. Strength build is just better. Your jump is better. You can carry more. She's going to be somewhat of a pack horse for carrying things for you because she's got high strength. And because you're using the attack or even the multi-attack with this cleric, then strength is going to be most useful for you there. So I don't know what you all think of this. People have disagreed with me at tabletop when they wanted to play the cleric. If you're not playing the cleric, then I think relying on the spell slots to just do healing is your best way forward. She is my second in command, so to speak. I think she's very useful. The storyline seems to be good with Shadowheart, so she's worth having. But anyway, let me know what you think, and thanks for watching. See you all next time.